one day, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now, in Jerusalem, there is a pool of water called Bethesda, and it's actually still there today. And people believed that the water in this pool could actually make sick people well. Now, I don't know if that pool of water could really do that, but it is what people believed at the time. And because of that, people used to bring disabled people or blind people to the pool each day in the hopes that they might be able to get into the water and the water would make them well. Every so often, someone would come along and stir up the water like this. And when that happened, the disabled people were supposed to get into the water in the hopes that they would be healed. A bit like this. Now, there was one man, this man, who had been disabled for 38 years, and that is a long time. He couldn't walk and he couldn't get up. All he could do was lay on his mat all day long, and he really wanted to get into that water. Here comes the man to stir up the water again. But it was no good. The man didn't have anyone to help him get into the water, and every time someone stirred up the water, someone would get into the pool ahead of him. Then Jesus came along and he asked him a question. How long have you been like this? 38 years I've been like this, sir. He didn't actually know who Jesus was. Do you want to get well? Jesus asked him. I do, but the problem is I haven't got anyone to help me get into the pool when the water is stirred up. And while I'm trying to get in, somebody else always gets in ahead of me. Now, you might have thought that Jesus would have helped the man into the pool, but that isn't what he did. He just said to the man, get up, pick up your mat and walk. Immediately, the man was cured. After 38 years of being disabled, he got up and he rolled up his mat, just as Jesus had told him to. And he could walk. I can get up, I can stand up, I can walk. And Jesus disappeared into the crowd. Now, the day on which this happened was a Sabbath. That's God's special day to rest and worship him, like Sunday is for us. It's our special day to meet together and worship God together. But the Jewish people, they do this on a Saturday. Now, unfortunately, some of the Jewish leaders were nearby. We've met them before. They're the grumpy looking ones. They didn't really like Jesus because Jesus was more popular than them, and they were jealous. They saw the man who Jesus had healed carrying his mat. They went up to him. Hey, it's the Sabbath. It's God's special day. You shouldn't be doing any work. Carrying your mat is work, so you're breaking the law. Now, this was actually not true. Carrying a mat is not working, and they were just making up some extra rules. The man said, but the man who just made me well told me to pick up my mat and walk. Who is this man who told you to do that? But the man didn't know who Jesus was, and he hadn't asked him his name, which was a bit silly of him, in my opinion. And Jesus, of course, had just slipped away into the crowd and disappeared. Oh, Well, actually, I don't know. Later on, at the temple, Jesus found the man and he came and spoke to him. Listen very carefully, this is important. I have made you well in your body, but you must change your life. You must stop sinning. Now, sinning is when we don't live life God's way. Otherwise, Jesus said, something worse than being disabled might happen to you. Now that sounds a bit strange, but Jesus was telling the man about how important it is to live life God's way. You see, after this life, there's another life, and we will spend it with God and those who follow him forever. In that life, our bodies will be made perfect forever. But if we don't live God's way, following Jesus, we miss out on that eternal life. Of course, after that, the man understood exactly who Jesus was. He went and found the Jewish leaders. It was Jesus who made me well. It was Jesus who healed me. It was Jesus who told me to pick up my mat and walk. They spoke amongst themselves. So, Jesus. It's Jesus again. Jesus was healing on the Sabbath. That counts as work. And he's breaking our rules. Jesus came up and spoke to them. My Father in heaven is always working. Every day. So I too must work. Every day. The Jewish leaders spoke to each other again. So, not only does Jesus work on the Sabbath, breaking our rules, he has the cheek to call God his Father. I think that sounds like he's making himself equal with God. Well, that's another rule he's broken. We're going to have to get rid of him. Yes, we will have to have him killed. So, the important things to remember from this week's Bible story are these. Jesus healed the disabled man. Only God could do that. Jesus is equal to God. Jesus is God, God the Son. Jesus wanted the man to change his life and live life God's way, or something worse might happen to him. Do listen to Jesus. I hope that the man did, but we don't actually know. Now, the Jewish leaders didn't want to live life God's way. They thought that they were more important than Jesus and that they knew better, and they began to plot to have him killed. Don't be like them. And now we're going to do our craft to help us remember the story and to tell it to other people.